Is Isaac in Mexico? Mom, we went over this. I know, but it really sounded desperate this time. No, Mom, he's not in Mexico. Don't send them money. See, the reason people get caught up in these scams is because these scams prey on our baser instincts. Who wouldn't like to make $25,000 for doing nothing? Who wouldn't want to help your grandson stuck in Mexico in a jail, even if he's in Modesto? Who wouldn't want to help out a Nigerian prince, and all you have to do is, why was I chosen? They prey on our pride. They prey on our sense of wanting to get something for nothing. Or the man who cheats on his wife and gets caught, then gets upset when his wife doesn't just automatically forgive and everything's okay. Well, said it was sorry. Okay. Yeah. Let's see how that works for you. Or a teenager that lies to her parents and simply can't understand why her parents don't trust her. Sometimes we're stupid. Let's be honest. The dictionary defines stupid as having or showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. Harlan Ellison in the book Edgeworks wrote, "The two most common elements in the universe are hydrogen and stupidity." And I'm thinking that there are days when stupidity overcomes hydrogen. I'm not sure. Now look, understand, in my world, stupid's a choice. I've told you this before. If you got kicked in the head by a herd of savage butterflies and you got a brain hernia or something, God bless you, you're dumb. There's nothing we can do to help you. I'm sorry. But stupid's a choice. We went to El Serape the other day for lunch. It was great. The waiter puts the plate down and he says, what's he always say? Hot plate. Okay, what do we all do? We touch it. And then we say, ow, that was hot. Yeah, he just told you that. You chose to be stupid. If I wanted to make sure that everybody touched that wall over there, I'd put a wet paint sign on it. Because we'd all, hey, that paint's wet. Yeah, that's what the sign said. James chapter 1, verse 14 to 15 says, temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away. These desires give birth to sinful action, and when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death. I kind of like the way Michael Crichton put it. Life is hard, but it's harder if you're stupid. And let's be honest. Anybody here not had a stupid moment? Don't raise your hand, because we will start pointing you out, and we will talk about it. You're a liar and your breath stinks. We all choose to be stupid at some point. And here's the thing. More often than not, we do something stupid and we get away with it. It doesn't have severe repercussions, but a lot of times we're stupid and it causes us pain. It causes the people around us pain. It gets us in a swirling hole, and then we look to God and say, God, why didn't you get me out of this? And God says, well, I didn't put you in it. But God is merciful. If you're facing tough times, and again, I know that so many of us are, you're facing tough times, God always gives a way. God always gives a way out. But you sometimes have to stick around to make sure you get the way out. If you give up the first time it goes sour on you, the first time it goes pear-shaped, you never get a chance to see what God's going to do. And that's easy to say sitting here when everything's fine. But when the rubber meets the road and it's rough and tumble in your home and your life and everything else, how do you hang in there? How do you get from the trouble to God's victory? So I encourage you to take notes today, because a lot of this is going to really, really work in your heart. The storm will not last. They eventually blow over. But the question is, what kind of shape will you be in when the storm is past? Will you be closer to God as a result of going through the storm? Or will you have abandoned God because you weren't patient enough to go through it? See, storms are where we learn. I said this a couple of weeks ago when I preached too. Everybody wants to live on a mountaintop, and nothing grows up there. Sometimes you've got to slug it out down in the valley where it's ugly. How do you hang in there? We're going to talk about that. Psalm 20 tells us 5 things we need to hang on to during times of trouble. The first one is hang on to your hope. Look at Psalm 1, verses 1 through 3. In times of trouble, may the Lord answer your cry. May the name of the God of Jacob keep you safe from all harm. May he send you help from his sanctuary and strengthen you from Jerusalem. May he remember all your gifts and look favorably on your burnt offerings. See, David starts this psalm by saying, yeah, we're going to have troubles. And anybody that told you that if you become a Christian, all your troubles will go away, you'll never have troubles, sold you a bill of goods. We're humans. God doesn't promise us that our lives will be trouble-free. What he does promise us is that he'll be there with us in times of trouble. And I've heard these prosperity preachers preach it. Oh, and if you're not driving a Cadillac, then you've got sin in your life. If you're not getting thousands of dollars every week and you're not being blessed from all over the place, there's sin in your life. Where do you get that? That's not even close to biblical. Yes, God wants to give good gifts to his children, and he does. But he also knows that if we got everything we wanted, we'd be a spoiled brat. You ever see a kid that got everything they wanted? I choose not to be around them very long, because in my heart of hearts, there's a part of me that wants to offer them the right hand of fellowship. Rapidly across their backside. See these little kids in the store throwing fits, and their mom's dragging them through the store, and they're screaming, "I want it!" I always look at my wife and say, "I can fix that. You give me 30 seconds with that kid, I'll fix that." She says, "No. Probably just as well. Can't go beating other kids in the store." I tried stuff like that with my mom. See, that was old school. In fact, when we were growing up, if you acted like that in the store, if your mom didn't spank you, other people would volunteer to do it. You want me to take him outside? Because I'll take him outside. I know you're busy. I'll take him outside. My mom would like, "Yeah, go ahead." Yeah. It's like rent a beating or something. Psalm 1:8, those nations will fall down and collapse, but we will rise up and stand firm. It's a good thing to remind yourself when you're facing a storm that yes, it can be ugly now. Yes, it hurts now, but I can't avoid dealing with this situation in front of me, and this situation won't last forever. It's not going to last forever. Now, it doesn't feel like that when you're in the middle of it, does it? When you were being buffeted by the storm and you're in the boat and it's rocking and rolling in the waves and, it doesn't feel like it's not going to last forever. It feels like it's going to last forever. But storms never do. You've got to have hope. Another word for hope is optimism. Expect the best. And look, I try to expect the best of people all the time. And sometimes I get burned. Sometimes people burn me. It happens. But I'd rather expect the best of them and be disappointed than set low expectations and just never give people a chance to succeed. Believers can't help but expect the best because our God promises the best. Isaiah 64:4. Since the world began, no ear has heard, no eye has seen a God like you who works for those who wait for him. Back to the spoiled brat. They're used to getting everything. They're used to saying, Mom, I want this and I want it now, and the mom gives it to them. But God's not that kind of parent. God says, I'll give it to you when you're ready. I'll give it to you when you can handle it. I'll give it to you when it's best. Not when you snap your fingers. I honestly think some of these people think God's a bellhop in heaven. Need new pillows for my room. Let's go. More towels. That's not God. You really want a God you can boss around? If you could boss God around, what would your world be like? Good grief. Look at your world now. Imagine what it would be if you could tell God how it was going to be. Because there are times when God says, that's not a good idea. I had a poster on my wall in my office in El Cajon, the church. It was a red Corvette, beautiful Corvette. 85, 86 Corvette, beautiful. And as a joke, I would say, I become a prosperity preacher. I'm going to name it and claim it. The prosperity preacher is the one that says that, name it, claim it, blab it and grab it, doubt it and do without it. Yeah, it drives me crazy. Now here, God did not see fit to give me a red Corvette. In God's wisdom, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I probably couldn't fit in it. I weighed about 400 pounds at the time. So it would have taken some wedging to get me in. Drive with the door open or something. And even if I did get in it, can you imagine what I would do with the horsepower of a Corvette? I got a speeding ticket in a Hyundai XL. Not even the big Hyundai, the little Hyundai. I got a ticket for doing 80 on the freeway in San Diego. Now, granted, we were going downhill. That's about the only time I could hit 80. But I got a ticket in a Hyundai. What am I going to do with a Corvette? The Hyundai was like 0 to 60 eventually. The Corvette was 0 to 60 in like 4.5 seconds, 5 seconds, something like that at that time. Yeah, that's a whole different matter. I think God looked down and said, Jerry, I know you really want that Corvette, but let's be honest here. That's not a good idea for you. Not to mention the fact that I had one kid and another one on the way. Where are you going to put two kids in a Corvette? I mean, granted, not my problem. They can ride in the hatch. I don't care. Just strap them to the top like cordwood. I don't care. As long as I got a Corvette. No eye has seen a God like you who works for those who wait for him. Sometimes God says, I'm going to answer this prayer, but you need to wait. You need to be, I hate this word. Patient. I really hate that word. You need to be patient. Because if I gave it to you now, you'd mess it up. You're not ready. Because our natural reaction is look at everybody around us. Well, if everybody was better, God would give it to me. No, it's usually you. You're usually the limiting factor. Not always, but sometimes. Most times. Romans 8:28 says, we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Everything to work together. Good times, bad times. Good circumstances, bad circumstances. Everything works together for those who love God. Now, I've heard people go up to somebody who's not a Christian and they lost a child or something. Well, everything works together for good. Yeah, that's number one. That's a really stupid thing to say to somebody that's grieving like that. Number two, it doesn't apply to them. Who does everything work together for good? Those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. We're so quick to use these verses out of context. God says, if you love me and you're called according to my purpose, everything that happens for you is going to be to your good. What if you're in rebellion toward God? What if you have a situation and you know you shouldn't do it, but you do it anyway? Is that pain and sorrow going to work for good for you? It might. God may use that for your good down the road. keep your hope alive by remembering that God's on your side, working things out on your behalf. You can also keep your hope alive by remembering that you're not alone. Henry J. Newen, if you've never read any of Henry Newen's books, amazing. He says, a man can keep his sanity and stay alive as long as there are at least one person waiting for him. A man can keep his sanity as long as there is at least one person waiting for him. He says that a dying mother can stay alive for the chance to see her son again. That a soldier can endure the horrors of battle when he knows his wife and child are waiting for him. These things keep hope alive. And as long as you have hope, you know you can endure the storm. But Newen also says, when nothing and nobody is waiting, there's no chance to survive in the struggle for life. We need to remember that we are not nothing and nobody people. We belong to the family of God. And I don't care what you're going through this morning. There's somebody waiting for you. If everybody else on this planet deserts you, God is waiting for you. But I will tell you that this church will never desert you. The people here won't desert you. We love you too much. So if you're going through the struggles today, just know God has a way out for you. You're not nothing and nobody people. You have somebody waiting for you. Don't forget about the people that love you. Draw from their strength. Don't forget about this church. Draw from the strength you get here. That's why verse 3 of Psalm 20, David says, may he remember all your gifts and look favorably on your burnt offerings. But then verse 8, and I love verse 8, but we will rise up and stand firm. Notice who he says? We will rise up and stand firm. Church, if you're here this morning and you're hurting, we will rise up in your life. We will provide the strength you need. We will love you through it. We will give you hope. You're not in this alone. You're not a nothing or nobody person. You've got strength you can't even imagine yet. All you've got to do is reach out and grasp it. I put it this way, you're not in this alone. We're in this together. We will get through it. Hang on to your hope. Second thing you need to hang on to are your commitments. Psalm 20, verse 3, may he remember all your gifts and look favorably on your burnt offerings. We're called to serve God by serving others. If you ever start thinking that the Christian life is all about you, you don't understand the Christian life. We are to give out of our being. We're supposed to be looking for ways to actively serve God by serving other people. That person you saw sitting in the waiting room at the hospital and crying, did you go over and offer them comfort? Oh, but I didn't know who they were. Doesn't matter. They still need a comfort. And maybe you were the one that God was going to use to bless their lives right then and right there. My wife says that I've never met a stranger. I talk to people all the time. I'm sure I'm annoying to some people. I know you find that hard to believe, but I'm sure I am annoying to some people. All right, I'm annoying to a lot of people. I guarantee you if you had to sit next to me on an airplane, I'm going to talk to you on that airplane. Because that's what, unless I fall asleep. I try to fall asleep because I'm not a real good flyer. I don't like flying. I like that Bible verse says, lo, I am with you always. But if I'm in a plane with you, I'm going to talk to you. Because if I'm standing in line, I'm going to talk to you. Because I learned a long time ago that God gives us divine appointments. And that's not to say that every time I talk to somebody, it's about God. Sometimes I end up talking to somebody and they just like, okay, thanks. And they think, leave me alone, fat boy. Sometimes we talk about cars. Sometimes we talk about other things. But I'm always looking for an opportunity to minister. I'm always looking for an opportunity to reach out to them. That doesn't mean that I'm walking around, do you know Jesus? Would you like to know Jesus? Because you're going to hell otherwise. Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to work. It's not my style. Usually in our troubles, we kind of withdraw. We hide. We don't want anything or anybody to see us or know that we're hurting. Our first reaction is to stop everything, put it all on hold, and go into retreat mode. More than a few times, I've heard somebody say, I'm going through some changes, or I'm facing some difficulties at work. I'm having some struggles in this area, and I need to bow out of serving in the ministry right now. They're doing kids ministry. They're doing youth ministry. Yeah, I'm going through some struggles right now. I'll come back to it as soon as I'm through it. You know what? They almost never come back to that. See, it's like they hit pause with their life. Because they don't just give up the ministry when they say that. They give up coming to church. They give up reading their Bible. They give up conversing with the Lord. And what they're really saying is, I know I'm going through it right now, and the last thing I want is for God to mess with me on it, so I'm just going to pull away from everything. And it's sad because they almost never get back to where they were to begin with. If you're going through struggles right now, keep your commitments. Your commitment to your family. Your commitment to the people that love you. Your commitment to church. It's always amazed me that when people are going through tough times, they'll stay away from church. The one place they can get the hope they really need, they'll stay away from church. That'd be like being hungry and missing dinner. When they cut themselves off from church, or they cut themselves off from God, what they're really saying is, this isn't doing any good. I'm not getting my money's worth out of it. This investment of my time is no longer worth it for me. It's just not worth it for me. Because they look at everything in that microwave, hurry up, do it right now thing. And if God doesn't answer, chop, chop, they say, well, God, let me alone. No. God's working in you. You've got to believe it. Well, if God loved me, I wouldn't be going through that storm right now. Who told you that? Who told you that? You didn't read that in the Bible.